People have been spending a lot of time at home and it only gets better with a glass of wine. I'm not saying this. This is what reports indicate as the consumption of alcohol in US has gone up. But is the story same in India, which is the 9th largest consumer of alcohol? Let's find out from the founder of Sula Vineyard, Rajiv Saman, as he joins us today on CT Cares, and he's having a good time in Nasik at his vineyard. Hi Rajiv, good to have you with us on Curly Tales, and I can see a lot of greenery behind you. Looks like a good spot to enjoy social distancing.
Hi Kamya, yes, I'm one of the lucky ones, that's for sure. First and foremost, I want to thank you for having me on Curly Tales today. It's a pleasure. And yes, I am one of the lucky ones. I'm here in Nasik at Sula Vineyards. I have a beautiful home here on the vineyard. And my family and I managed to get out of Mumbai just before the lockdown. We thought we'd come here for 5 days. And as it's turned out, we are here for 90 days. But we are definitely one of the lucky ones.
Well, definitely. In fact, the pandemic has had a tough time on all of us. But the good thing is there seems to be booze boom. We saw it in US that beer and wine sales have actually gone up and as good as last year. Tell us, how has business been for Sula?
So Kamya, you're absolutely right that in the US, for instance, people have been sitting at home in lockdown and they've been enjoying a glass or two of wine. And I wish I could say that that was the same here. Very unfortunately, our government, in their wisdom, decided to lock down alcohol sales as well as everybody during this lockdown. And that's something that we were not so happy about, but we had to take it. And so it's been a struggle. We actually, for 60 days, we didn't manage to sell a single bottle of wine, and we've still kept our winery shut at this point. The good news is in those places where the market is opened up again, Bangalore, for example, that's the first market which is opened up completely, well, at least in terms of retail sales, if not restaurants. Sales are bouncing back really strongly. And it looks like in June, we're going to sell as much wine as last year, June. So there's some good signs, but for 60 days, we were not able to sell a single bottle of wine from our winery, which really hurts.
In fact, home deliveries is something that has been started as well. And reports do indicate that there have been, consumption patterns. There's some change and shift there. We're seeing female consumers also on the rise. Is there any trend that you would like to highlight, which you would have observed for the business?
For sure. So home delivery is something that the industry has been looking for a long time. In certain markets, it is allowed, but in most markets, it's sort of either a quasi-legal situation, an ambiguous situation, or it's downright disallowed. And I'm really happy to say that, one of the good things that might come out of this is that the government has realized what is wrong with home delivery. I mean, especially in Maharashtra, which is our largest market, everybody has an excise permit. And with technology, it's so easy to verify that the person who's ordering the wine and who's receiving the wine is the same person whose excise permit number is recorded. The delivery person can take a photograph of the person, the recipient, with their excise permit. So if you've got all of that in place, what's wrong with allowing home delivery? So that's a very hopeful sign, and it's gone off without a glitch in Mumbai. Sure, there are some press reports about, some scams and, people gave their credit card. Listen, that's all sour grapes. There's a bunch of people out there who even today would love to see some of these rules shot down. Frankly speaking, in 99% of the cases, it's been very positive. And it's interesting that you mentioned about women being much more comfortable to buy a bottle of wine if they don't have to go to that horrible liquor shop. Unfortunately, the way that liquor is treated in India, it's almost worse than a hard drug in some cases. The penalties for being caught with, a case of wine that maybe somebody says is not excise paid is even worse than being caught with, with an illegal drug. So you have to, it's without, bail. You can be put in jail without bail, for example, which is crazy. So now So these shops are, if you've ever been to a theka in Haryana or in Chennai, I mean, they are horrendous, right? So a lot of women are not comfortable with going. And then when you can't order at home, what do? It's almost like you're shut out. So a lot of women who are our natural consumers are feeling much more comfortable to order something in the safety and security of their own home. So that's a great new trend.
And unfortunately, the restaurants and bars have been shut down for over 2 months now. I'm sure that would have had a big impact on your business, even though, alcohol has made its way to living rooms, wine in specific. How do you see the future of drinking as a culture really evolving in India?
So you're absolutely right, Kamya, that restaurants, hotels, bars, that's really going to hurt. And no doubt people are going to have a little bit maybe more to drink at home, but I don't think it's going to make up for the amount of alcohol and wine that was consumed in restaurants, bars. A lot of people have restrictions in drinking at home. So you have a lot of even wealthy families who come from communities where it's not really okay to have alcohol at home, where even for them, they normally will go out of the house, they go to a restaurant, have a drink there. And, that's totally acceptable. So this is something that's probably going to challenge that.
Raji, I would like to get your perspective. The lockdown was announced all of a sudden, but then after a few days, government decided to open the liquor shops, and we saw those long queues outside the liquor shops. Clearly, India loves its drink.
Today a drink is essential, no matter what the prohibitionists say. And prohibition is, unfortunately, as far as we are concerned, enshrined in the Indian Constitution. But today it's become an essential part of life. You have your meal, you have a bar of chocolate. If you can have a Kentucky fried chicken, why can't you have a glass of Indian Nasik wine? What's wrong? If you can look at it and say this used to be called draksha serve, right? Now it's called wine. I'm going off into a little bit of Ayurveda as well. I think it's an essential good, and the government made a mistake in saying shut down all the alcohol stores. I don't think it was the right thing to do. Anyways, what's going to happen when you open up? Obviously, you're going to have a mob of people just wanting to get a drink, which is a basic human need in this day and age. It helps calm your nerves, it helps you relax, helps you enjoy life a little bit more. Obviously, there was going to be a mob. So I would say the next time something like this happens, do not shut the liquor stores.
Rajiv, you did mention that the factory has been shut. How are things at Sula Vineyard now? Is the production completely on hold? Are you still making wine? And what happens about the workers who were working at the vineyard?
Right. So let's separate the process of making wine from bottling wine and dispatching it. The process of making wine happens all the year round. It's a wonderful process that starts with the harvest of the grapes, which happens January to March, which thank God we were able to get done. Well, thank our local authorities as well. They gave us permission to allow all our grapes to come in. I haven't done the blending myself for 8 years, but this year, Harvest 2020, Rajiv Samant has led the vintage, the winemaking, and I'm very happy with the results. And I'm very happy to bring myself back in touch with the nitty-gritty of what it is, how I started out here. So the winemaking is going on. What's been shut is the production, the bottling and the dispatch, what we call the actual production. Right. That should start up again in about a couple of weeks. In the interim, again, we are lucky. All the people, almost everybody who works in our winery is from the local villages. Mm-hmm. A lot of people from the scheduled tribe, the ST community. Sula happens to be one of the biggest employers of an ST workforce in the state, possibly one of the biggest in terms of the proportion of people we employ. So it's been fantastic for the local community. So people just have gone to the village, back to their village next door and hung out. We have not really let any permanent workers go.
So are there any measures that are in place to ensure absolute sanitization and hygiene to make sure that the bottle that reaches the consumer is absolutely safe?
For sure. So for sure, we're going to make sure that everything that the state government and the center, all the rules that they've put in place, we're going to be following that. We're going to be going above and beyond that. Every single spot that's empty in the winery is going to have sanitizer available to you. So you're going to move from, 10 meters from there, here to there, you're going to have to sanitize. You're going to move another 10 meters, you're going to have to sanitize. There'll be very strict controls on who can go into the winery. It's going to be strictly workers only, strict checking before they arrive, make sure, so thermometers, oximeters, pulse oximeters, make sure everyone looks to be COVID-free, sanitation measures, handling of bottles, cases during winemaking. Luckily, I mean, wine itself is not known to be one of those things that carries viruses easily. Having said that, of course, I mean, there is the chance a virus could be on a cardboard box coming from anyone, any factory, anywhere. In the case of wine, you got to remember that there's also almost a 1 month window between the time that wine leaves the winery to the time it reaches the consumer. It has to go to the distribution point in the state. From there, it has to go to retail, etc. We can't really speak for what happens there. We are going to try our best, but we are going to make sure that whatever leaves our winery is going to be COVID-free.
Yeah, that's about wine. But in fact, Rajiv, coming to the vineyard is also an experience in itself for a lot of wine enthusiasts.
The beautiful vineyards back there. I can show you a little. That's what my office view looks like.
Wow.
So I'm definitely, and right now it's raining. Looks like the monsoon has arrived. So it's absolutely gorgeous.
Clearly, you are one of the few lucky people to enjoy that kind of a view while we are all stuck in our cities. I wanted to understand and get a perspective from you. How do you think wine tourism is going to change in India?
So, Kamya, this has been really sad. We typically would get around 30,000 visitors a month, and we have been reduced to 0 visitors since the last 60 days, which is tragic. So many people love to come here and just sit on the terrace and taste a glass of wine while looking out on these beautiful vineyards, going to this lake and mountain. And that's just come to a screeching halt for now. We do hope that we'll be back in business soon. We think that to start with, there will be social distancing measures. You'll have to have certain distance between tables. We are really lucky here. We've got a lot of space. We're going to approach our excise authorities to say, hey, look, allow us to spill out a little bit further, open up our area a little, because there are really strict rules. You're supposed to be indoors, right? When you have a glass of wine, you're actually not supposed to be able to sit outdoors. So we're going to say, hey, look, I think in this time, let us sit outdoors. These are a couple of the changes that we are going to suggest to the authorities. I think that for the next couple of months, it's going to be very challenging. People are going to be a little bit worried, but I really do hope that things bounce back after that. Those who are more vulnerable, take care, face masks, etc. For us, look, everybody who comes into our property, plus our own staff, we are going to be testing, at least for now, temperature checks, etc.
You also have a resort there, which is Beyond by Sula. Is that going to be open anytime soon?
So, of course, we are waiting for the rules regarding hotel openings. The sad thing is, we have 2 resorts. We have Beyond and we have the Source. And the Source is a heritage building because it's our original winery that became too small for our needs. And rather than demolish it, we converted it into a beautiful heritage hotel. We just added 20 rooms, which opened in February, and then we had to shut in March. So that's just one of those things. But life happens. That's how things happen. So we hope to be welcoming people back. Again, it's a very sprawling property. There's plenty of space. So there's no need for people to come and be in a crowd. So we hope to be welcoming people back, and we'll have all the social distancing stuff going on. So fingers firmly crossed. That's what's waiting for you. You can see that gorgeous view out there. That's what Sula Vineyards looks like.
Yes, yes. In fact, I have been there and I've had a wonderful experience there. Another thing Sula is known for is its Sula Fest. Do you think the concept will return for all the youngsters who've enjoyed, spending 2 or 3 days there with music, with wine, and a lot of activities?
Yeah, Kamya, Sula Fest has become one of the greatest festivals weekend festivals in the country. And we're so proud of what we've done over these last 14 years. I'm sad to say that this next year, February 2021, we, for the first time since we started out 15 years ago, will be taking a break from Sula Fest. Yeah, we've just looked at everything. This is going to be one of those years when people are going to be worried. Sula Fest is crowded. That's the joy of it. You're in a great crowd, fantastic bunch of people having a ball, listening to some fantastic live music and enjoying a glass of wine while sitting on the grass. We don't feel that we can safely offer this wonderful experience this year. So we're just going to take a break for 1 year, and we'll be back, we hope, with much more dhoom-dham in February 22. February 21 is going to be our year of taking a break from Sula Fest. And I really want to apologize to all of our Sula Fest fans out there for what's going to happen this year. But we do feel it's the best thing to do. So I'm announcing that for the first time today on Curly Tales, by the way. That's a scoop.
Thank you very much, Rajiv, for sharing that important information with us on Curly Tales. But we still look forward to 2022. I'm sure you're going to be back with a bang. Thank you so much, Rajiv, for taking out the time and sharing those wonderful insights with us about the alcohol industry. Thank you.
Thanks, Kamya. My pleasure.
All right.
Cheers from Sula.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.